York Women in Film and Television and Herflix hosted a brunch sponsored by Chicken and Egg Pictures and Joanna Plofsky in association with David Lynch Foundation. This is Princess Angelique Monét, and we're here at the New York Women in Film and Television brunch. Now, I love what you're doing to help with world peace, and a lot of things that you're doing are also controversial.
That's what I do. I just do what comes naturally, and I try to tell the truth, and whatever interests me, I do a film about.
You're very modest right now. Everyone, we've been chatting for the past hour. I've learned about all these fancy projects, and fancy is, what is fancy? You just got a big award.
Oh, I got an award for a short film I just did. It's called Animal Crackers Pentimenti, and we entered it in the Best Shorts Film Festival in California somewhere, and we got the Award of Merit for our film we just heard. It was very nice, little thing to get. And we're supposed to get our laurels sent to us through the internet. I don't know, it's some kind of thing you get. And that's it. But are you talking about the other film I'm doing for the human rights?
Yes. I'm happy with everything that you're doing, and I want the fans to know about everything you're doing.
Okay, so the short film we did, Animal Crackers Pentimenti, is a crime thriller, and it's a psychological thriller with a very amazing actor. Well, they're all amazing actors. Even the baby is an amazing actor. And we did it in a very short period of time. We did it on a whim, and it's very character-driven. I love working with good actors. I am an actor's director. I used to be an actor myself. I am an actor, actually. I have all my unions. And so I love working with great actors, and we just grooved together, and it just came out really well. So it's no surprise that it's actually their film, because if it wasn't for their acting, it was put together so well because of them. So I really owe it to Krista and Jurgen and Alexis, the little girl. And so Krista was freaking out, and that's the lead character. She plays Sylvie, Krista Blumberg. And she called me and says, "Oh my God, the baby is not following direction." I said, "Well, what a surprise. It's a baby." It's like, that's normal. So, but the child actually started doing these amazing things. Like, she started pulling back from Krista, and it was very odd. So I think she's very talented.
I want to find out more about you, okay? I know that, listen, we've spent a lot of time together, and I want to make sure that the fans know that you're doing world peace initiatives, and you've even met with the UN, correct?
Well, I'm doing a film called The Castle in Brooklyn, King Arthur and the Serfdom of Kent, and I've been doing this since 2007.
There was a town down under.
She did this before there was a fire, and then it ends up there being a fire.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
So I don't know anything about this particular case, but we have seen instances where there's a claim that a building isn't sound, and there's very little evidence, and then they get torn down.
The same way we have emotional connections to our relatives and our friends, we have emotional connections to the buildings. And when those buildings are destroyed, we do mourn them.
I said to one reporter, I said, it would have been better if they shot us.
It was where they protected their lands. Yeah, they threw off grenades and anyone close to their gate. So I guess this hood's barely.
The newer version we're working on, I think, is better. It's more interesting. It may not all be floor area as calculable by the apartment buildings, but there's going to be some sort of tower that Arthur and I worked on both designs, and it's, in keeping with his vision.
There's your arches. That's what they did. Your windows are here all broken up. Jesus.
There's been a gross miscommunication. The top floor of the Angel is gone. I hope that wrecking ball spends his whole damn sprawl, building up something for a hothead to fall.
I was at the UN for the Universal Periodic Review of Human Rights Violations of the United States a couple of years ago with a segment of one of the films of the project called The Castle in Brooklyn, King Arthur. And
you're talking about the gentleman who built the place in Clinton Hill, and the Black Party was there with Dave Chappelle. Oh my God!
Arthur Wood. Yes, I am. He's actually working with me a lot, and his family has been working to help this film come to pass, because we really realized that there was some things that were going on that were quite unsavory. It was hard to look at, and for 4 years I've been doing this and following him, as well as the people at 475 Kent, which had a similar event happen where they were evicted in one day. So the whole thing that we're doing, the subject matter is called, what I call it, preemptive forced eviction. And it means that the authorities come to your house because they find something that might be dangerous. So it seems to be that whole 9/11 syndrome that is hit, it's become a how would you call it? An excuse. I like that. It's an excuse to throw you out of your place. These artists all pay their rent. It's not a subject that they're squatters or anything like that. In fact, Arthur Wood owned his building for 28 years. He built his building. He was an architect, right? He was a visionary. I mean, Arthur's an amazing artist. Him and his wife, Cynthia, who died, and I would say she died as a result of what happened. And I have an interview with her. She actually interviewed with me and Arthur, and she said, I'm going to be gone in a year or two. And it came to pass. She said they might as well shot me in the head. And I have some very shocking scenes that we constructed because Arthur really wanted to express the misery that he felt. And to see an old gentleman of 80-some years old and his wife being kicked to the curb like that and really being taken advantage of because they were homeless, and then all these people came and, we're going to help. And some of them were politicians and developers, and they're going to give you money and make the place into something that's in code. You'll be able to keep your place. And I saw the whole thing happen. And then all of a sudden, they stopped building. And or was the building's department didn't so it was a mix. I was like, what is going on? Who's doing it? And that's what the film's about. And it's a little shocking. And I think what is good about the film is the human element, because this can happen to anyone. It can happen to your parents. It can happen to us. It will happen to us. If it happens to them, it's going to happen to us. And that's why I'm doing it. And the Kent people of 475 Kent was another situation that they were in lofts. They were paying rent up to $3,000 a month and knock on the door, firemen, police. Oh, there's a matzah factory in the basement and it might blow up. It had been there for 10 years. So all of a sudden they discovered the matzah factory. So, we didn't know about that matzah factory, but the thing that's extremely cruel about this, you can't do anything about it. Once they say it's dangerous for you, hey, it's dangerous for you, you must leave or you might get hurt. And that's not America. I mean, we're supposed to be we are a free country. This is not what we signed up for. We should not be having this kind of thing take place. And I mean, I was evicted myself, but we had 30 days notice.
Do you feel that America loves you when you see stories like this?
I don't care if America loves me. I hope that America learns, and I hope America loves themselves enough to care about older people and fellow Americans. I don't think it's a question of popularity. I think it's a question of information. And when I went to the United Nations, I spoke on a panel at the Palais de Justice, which is the Justice Palace, which is in the UN itself. And they asked me to speak about, eviction and to show a clip of the Serfdom of Kent film there. And they were very impressed. They had no idea this was taking place. They thought, oh, you're evicted. You're not paying your rent. Your mortgage went overdue or something like that.
I like how you smile. I'm like, this information that you're saying is just really Sad. Now, what is this smile from that I see?
I am smiling because when I think about the people that we met, and I think my executive producer will let you know, they're my friends. I'm the kind of filmmaker that I don't go in and intrude and push my way in and disrespect people. I'm not there for that. And perhaps some people will argue that I'm not a real documentary filmmaker. That's fine with me. I'm not. I'm just a filmmaker. I don't like those categories anyway. I am coming from the heart. And when you meet people heart to heart, you know, it's deeper than what is happening to them. It was their survival that makes me smile, because they got together and got back in the building. The Kent people got back into the building, which is unprecedented. And in fact, Tiffany Gardner at Nesri said that it had never happened before. And, you know, this is a story that has to be told. It was because they got together, and they got together with the landlord, and they did the repairs, and for 3 months they were out. And, of course, some of them couldn't get back in because they could not afford the place in the meantime, you know. And when they got back in, of course, the rents were raised, and this is another continuation of why, you know, what the heck was going on.
We want to find out. I want everyone to know, because, I mean, it's not just what you're doing is a movement. So how can others be involved in your movement and your development as you develop all your projects?
Well, we are sponsored by IFP, and fiscally sponsored, and we have a site that they gave us, and if you find a castle in Brooklyn, King Arthur and the Serfdom of Kent, please donate. It's tax deductible, and we have finished filming, and we just need to do post-production. And I like to pay my artists and filmmakers. Everybody's on deferred. I'd like to pay people, and there's a little animation we have to do, and that would be great. And once you see it, you'll understand, and I think it'll make a lot of changes. I mean, it's already done a bit of a stir.
Congratulations on making a difference in other people's lives. It's really nice to see women doing great things, especially executive producers.
Oh my. Yeah, that's a pretty big title, I got to tell you. And basically all it is just you have to back the right horse. And I was incredibly lucky to get together with Larage Productions, to get together with Tyler A. Chase, because she is just an amazing filmmaker. And she is, I don't know, she was able to see through all of the smoke screen. She was able to see through everybody's eccentricities and just show the artist behind it, so that you're able to see the crime committed, because it was committed, you know, it was committed to people who are actually helping society in their own way, with their own art. They're very well-known people. I mean, these people who were evicted.
Right. She was telling me about the drummer and some of the other individuals. Now, you actually work with them, correct?
Tyler worked with them.
Can you name drop?
Yes. Connie Carruthers, an amazing jazz pianist. She was one of the people at 475 Kent. There was also Guy Lesser. Guy Lesser is a graduate of Yale School. He was the son of one of the greatest producers of TV. He did, what was the name of that? He's a writer. He's a writer, educator. He captures everything in a few words, basically. I mean, Tyler filmed him as he was just saying like a few short things that completely encompassed everything that was going on. And then you have Deborah Masters. Deborah Masters, she is a sculptor, and you see her stuff all over Brooklyn, all over Manhattan. Even she was arguing that Kennedy Airport, as soon as people walk out or walk into the country, they look up and see her sculptures, you know, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and this lady has been thrown out in the street. You know, it's just like a little ironic. These people who have been completely displaced, who were displaced, and if it wasn't for their, you know, their valor and their, you know, the fact that they are very creative and that they got together and actually found a way around things so that they were able to get into the building, it would have been quite the mess. I mean, you see how a lot of people wind up in the street, you know, and they're not necessarily the people who you think, you know, would wind up there, not people who are, you know, very, very poor, or people who can't pay their rent, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, it's very eye-opening, I think. And so I was just amazed because Tyler took all this footage, you know, and I was like, how the heck is this lady going to put this together? I mean, these people are incredibly interesting, but how, and you got to just see it because it's as artistic as the people who she films.
I'm really excited about our conversation that we had earlier. Yes. You're doing a great movement right now. It's not just a film. That's one of the things about here is the women don't just have films, but it's a movement. Why don't you tell us about your film?
Well, the film that I was part of is a film made by Susan Rockefeller, and it is a 15-minute plea to preserve and let the oceans take a rest. It's been done with all found footage on the internet, so only about 2 minutes of the film is actually real shooting, which I was lucky enough to be a part of that. But Susan's real hope is that we all become mermaid activists and we spread the word of letting the oceans rest. And when we say rest, what we mean is supporting sustainable seafood and only eating sustainably caught seafood and really reducing bycatch, reducing our use of plastics in the ocean, and just being more conscious of what's going into the oceans.
You have me smiling because for many of our viewers, they're not aware of what's really going on.
Not at all.
So how can other individuals become aware? And then we'll talk more about the film.
Yeah. The best thing you can do is on a grassroots level become involved with a local organization. So out here on the East End, you could do Surf Rider Foundation. You could do the Group for the East End. You could join Oceana, which is really a cause that both Susan and I hold very near and dear on our heart. Anything that's got to do with protecting the oceans, just becoming a little more active in your community is the very first step that you can take.
Now, you're in the film, and you have 2 minutes of it. Now, you mentioned to me earlier that you are really active with rights, but I want to find out more about what you were saying about the surfing and the boarding. I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong term.
Paddleboarding.
Tell us more about that and how it relates to the film.
Well, stand-up paddleboarding came out of Hawaii hundreds of years ago, but it's recently come to the East End and recently come to all over. And it's an amazing way for women and men to see, I call it, beyond the first 10 yards of the shoreline. And what paddleboarding has really allowed women to do, and Susan for that matter, was kind of get out into the middle of the bay, and it really gives you a chance to see so much more of the ocean than you never even imagined you could see. So for instance, last summer we had a lot of jellyfish, and it really came up in a lot of the conversations I was paddling with my students, and that's a great spot for me to then talk to them about what we can do to avoid jellification of the oceans.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, for everyone who doesn't know, what does that word mean?
Jellification. It means when you go to the beach and you see hundreds of thousands of jellyfish. We've slowly but surely eradicated the turtle population. Of course, it is always on a rebound and it's coming back, but the turtles are the jellyfish's #1 predator. And with global warming and lack of predator to jellyfish, they're just multiplying and multiplying and multiplying, and eventually the oceans could have more jellyfish than we want to ever have.
You want to hear a story?
Yes.
Okay, I'm doing an interview right now, as you know, the fans, but I'm going to tell you a story. I went to Puerto Rico, right? And I always go swimming at night. I love swimming at night, and I love going to the beaches where the locals go. Guess what happened to me? I wanted to go to the section that none of the locals were at. And they had to come with the fire. It was 100 jellyfish that swarmed around me. There was nowhere I could move.
Oh my God.
And the locals had to come with the fire just to make it that I could leave the ocean. What do you think about that?
I think that is a sign of the times. It's a call to action for your own self to realize that you could take a stake in the game by not using plastics anymore, refusing them, and really realizing that experience that you had with jellyfish, while not deadly, was scary, but that's the kind of stuff that if in the next 20 years we don't really make a move to change, could be the experience for your grandchildren or your nieces and nephews to be having for the rest of their lives.
I'm smiling right now because now I'm starting to ask certain questions because it's not just about the film, it's about the movement. And you've got my juices going. Good. You say don't use plastic and it's recyclable. So what's the logic for us on that? You're saying if we want water, what if we want water if we're going to the grocery store?
I am a huge, huge advocate of buying a metal water bottle and washing it every night and filling it as I go throughout my day. There are plenty of places where you can fill a metal water bottle. I haven't bought a plastic bottle of water, I think, in probably 2 years. I'm opposed to it. It makes me crazy. But that's just the very tip of the iceberg. It's just that there's so many plastics, and yes, we all think they're recyclable, but not all of it gets recycled. A very small percentage of it gets recycled, and a lot of it ends up in landfill, and a lot of it does end up in the ocean.
Wow. 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 Well, why don't you introduce your trailer for us? There's one online on YouTube. Yes. Can you introduce it for us?
Sure. This is Mission of the Mermaids by Suzanne Rockefeller. It's a 15-minute call to action documentary. And after you watch this, if you want to get involved, please go onto Facebook, like Mission of the Mermaids, and send us an email and let us know how we can further help you become involved in saving our oceans.
When I was a child, I'd hunker down, squinting, trying to spot the fin of a dolphin, the spout of a whale, and even the glorious iridescent tail of a mermaid. I was captivated by their mystery, part human, part fish, the bridge between both worlds I loved. But now that I am grown, I know the truth. Humans have brought this once boundless ocean to the verge of collapse.
Take my hand, yeah, take my hand, follow me.
Like the mermaid, the ocean needs time to rest, to protect the fish and the ecosystem that we all depend on for survival.
We're back. How have you been enjoying yourself?
I've been enjoying myself quite well, meeting a lot of interesting people, and them meeting me as well, which is the kind of the focus of this whole thing, is to kind of meet and exchange cards and find out how that we can be helpful to each other. You know, it's one of the wonderful things about women in film, that they create these events. This is just one out of many throughout the year. You know, so.
Exactly. Now, why don't you tell us your role with the Women in Film and TV out of New York?
Well, I am the film chairman at the School of Visual Arts in New York City. And a number of years ago, I outreached to women in film because I have 100 faculty members, and when I had taken over the film school, there was about 3 or 4 women who were part of the faculty. And so I really felt that there wasn't enough role models for the young women which increases each year their interest in becoming directors, editors, cinematographers, and so forth. So I outreached to women in film, and next thing I know, they got me involved with them, and I got them involved with our school. And I am proud to say we have about 40 women who now make up almost half of the faculty in my department, and I'm pretty pleased by that. And everything that I wanted to do and hoped for as far as creating opportunities for young women in our department, and also involving professionals, you know, to interact with them, it's been working out quite well. So.
Congratulations, especially on making a difference. Yes. You have a hard job. Not on making a difference, but all of your role. It sounds complicated.
Well, I have a hard job, but I love my job, so it's not really a job per se that I go in enthusiastic every morning and try to just make the place a better institution for the arts and elevating the minds of these the next generation of filmmakers, you know. So and Women in Film has been helpful to me to do that. So I'm pleased by that. And they also they just don't stand there that they've had. They do support. Every year they give a grant to a young woman filmmaker, and we've been very successful in the sense that the women that we've chose to receive that award have gone on to do good things, I guess,
Well, exactly. You're making a difference.
So yes, yeah, trying.
Well, congratulations. You're doing. It's a pleasure to see you.
Okay,
yes. I'm so happy to see you again. You do a lot.
I do a lot, but it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy doing it for the filmmakers and the artists and the people of Suffolk County and Long Island.
20 years for the Hamptons International Film Festival.
Right, it's 20 years, and for a nonprofit organization, that's quite a success. And I really have to credit the board, which is led by Stuart Matchsuna, and Karen Arikian, the executive director, who's done a fantastic job, as well as David Nugent, the program director. Just fabulous films in a beautiful place, year after year, and it just gets better and better.
It does. And how did you enjoy the women's brunch today?
I loved it when I finally got to the food. It was delicious, and it was nice to see old friends and some new friends, make new friends. And of course, this event gets bigger and bigger just as the presence of women in our industry gets bigger and bigger.
You know what I enjoy is I've met so many women filmmakers that are in the Hamptons program this year.
It's wonderful, and I see women expanding in many areas that have been dominated by men for far too long, including directors of photography. So a lot of options are opening up for women that in the past have been kind of a closed society. And I think technology has a lot to do with that. The lightness of cameras, where women can actually carry them. I think that has been an excuse to keep women out of the industry, the fact that it's very labor intensive. So I think technology has a lot to do with opening doors for women.
Well, you're opening a lot of doors, and it's so great to see you again.
It's great to see you too. Thank you.
Are you enjoying yourself here today?
I am. I'm having a lovely time with the whole festival. It's the first time I've been to a festival as a filmmaker, and it's a wonderful experience.
The first time as a filmmaker? Really? Wow, so tell us about your film.
The film is called Smart Is What You Get. It's about a woman named Asenath Andrews who created a high school in Detroit for teen moms and pregnant teens to make sure that they have a chance of getting ahead in life, because so often these girls are just thrown away and not given any opportunities.
Wow, what motivated you to make your piece?
Originally, we did it in conjunction with Newsweek Daily Beast for the Women in the World Summit. Principal Andrews was being given a grant by Toyota as a mother of invention. So we met her through that, and we made our short film to introduce her at the summit, and we just expanded it a little bit for the festival.
Did you ever believe that it would get to this point?
Well, yes and no. I didn't really think about it because in the context where we were doing it, we weren't thinking festival. So it was not even on our minds until we realized we had this incredible story about a wonderful woman, and the more people who could see it, the better. So that's when we decided to submit it.
Well, congratulations. And what better, Hamptons International Film Festival. That's a great honor, right?
It is. It is. It's wonderful to be a part of it.
Now, how can we find out more about you?
Well,
about your film.
About the film, I believe Toyota still has it up on their website. If you Google Smart Is What You Get, you'll get access to the shorter version of the film. And the two production companies involved with it both have websites. My partner, Josette Person, who's also out here, is with pointstudio.tv, and my company is realbiography.com, and we both have websites, and you can learn about us there.
Congratulations. Now, one final question. Tell us all your favorite part of the film.
With a 5-minute film, it's all so compact that I feel like the whole film is very special, but I guess if I had to pick out one moment, it would be near the end when some of the girls at the school are talking about what it's done for them and how it's changed their lives.
So what's next for you?
We're going to be making more of these mini docs for the next Women in the World Summit, finding more mothers of invention to celebrate, and deciding whether we want to keep sending them to festivals, and maybe expanding a couple of our stories into full-length documentaries if we can get the funding for it.